Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier, and this is the Piracy Show. And man, do I long for the day when this actually will be 100% the Piracy Show, talking about piracy within Star Citizen. But right now, we're kind of at a state in the game where, not a lot is known. What final form are things going to take? When we look at the content and the posts that CIG makes and we try to interpret their intentions and then try to extrude out some small nugget of truth that we can kind of go like, oh, this could very much be a thing and this could impact the way you play the game, so something to consider. Generally that's what a lot of the videos that I do is trying to look at what CIG says and then trying to say, okay, here's a couple of possible interpretations and this is how it could impact, your future within the game. Because I think that is presently probably one of the more pertinent things for you as a player, right? Is to kind of look into the future and say, okay, this is going to be something that's going to be very important in the future. Whereas this, we kind of thought this was going to be important. Not so much. Kind of use the Starfarer as an example. After we got the whole somebody went and saw Solo rework of the fuel mechanic for Quantum, the Starfarer's importance seemingly diminished, and then all other ships got the knock-on impact of, well, now you got to go get hydrogen from the hydrogen thing, and all the hydrogen scoops that you had on your fighters and large ships that processed atmospheric hydrogen to replenish your hydrogen are just kind of there for show now because someone went and saw Solo. I'm not going to go down that road, though. Obviously, you could make an entire episode about that. But recently, we got a whole bunch of, new flashy talk about Squadron 42 on Friday. And they were kind of ask us all your questions about Squadron 42, calling all devs. Thank God it's back, by the way. But once again, one of the biggest problems about Squadron 42 is they're hiding everything behind the curtain of spoilers, right? They're trying to protect the story, and this impacts the roadmap, I would say, to a degree. Let's be honest. To a degree, I think it impacts the roadmap because they're saying, well, we don't want to give away too many spoilers, like, oh, we just finished Mission 15 and Admiral Bishop, reveals he's a double agent or something like that. And you're like, spoiler, Can you make a schedule that tells people the progress that they're making without revealing any spoilers? Of course you can. Absolutely. Like if you say there's 50 missions in the first chapter of Squadron 42 and you say we are now 18 missions in on that goal and we're going to go the whole 50 and maybe plus or minus one or two. I mean, you're not really revealing all that much, except there might be a couple of hidden bonus missions if you do some extra stuff. You're not really giving anything away. You're not giving away plot points. I think that the biggest thing that they're afraid of is not so much revealing plot points. It's they're afraid of losing the wow factor, like, ooh, look at that ship. Ooh, look at that planet. Ooh, look at that world. Look at that destination. And, you go into these places, the music is uplifting, or it's this big operatic crescendo. And you're just like, wow, what a great moment in gaming, oh my God. And then, they're afraid of spoiling those moments in the game by kind of revealing them all. But realistically, I don't really buy into it, I think that showing us little individual pieces of the work that you're trying to accomplish doesn't really mean that you're giving away the whole big picture, kind of like the view from inside a cockpit versus outside a cockpit. It's very, very different and far more impactful from the outside. So I think that I think that they're being a little too tight with the information, and I think that it's to their detriment. is the argument that I will make. It's to their detriment. Now, on the one side, it is nonsensical because they're already kind of giving it away. Now, this is one of the recent Squadron 42 trailers. We've been getting Squadron 42 trailers since 2015. You remember the old Squadron 42 and 2016 trailer? We've been getting them for a long, long time. And each time we get them, they improve. You know, the visuals improve, the detail improves. You know, you see the clouds floating over the surface of that planet. Everything looks fancier, looks nicer, looks much more polished up. The characters, just the faces and the textures look so much better than they did in the original trailer. And every time we see these things, we go, okay, things are getting good, things are getting better. And I think that when we see stuff like this, it does a little bit to kind of push back on, you know, it kind of releases a little pressure from the valve that is the community's ever tested patience with CIG, right? And, you know, things like this are good things to release to show us, but they don't. I think that, like, the fear is that they're giving away the script, that they're giving away the experience to the players. And I think that that's a false premise, because the experience isn't contained within the trailer. The trailer is just, it's a visual element. It's a thing that you watch. With video games, it's different than a movie. You know, one of the criticisms that I often hear is, you know, when people say, oh, like, you play a lot of video games, so you just sit there on your computer and, you know, play your video games, and that's antisocial, or blah, 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 which to me is absolutely comical. I mean, if anything, being a participant in your entertainment is better than just being like someone who just watches TV. Whatever that is, I mean, you're just basically just being spoon-fed an experience, whereas when you're playing a video game, you're participating in that experience. And that is, you know, that's what separates video games from other forms of visual entertainment, because you're a participant. And that is a very critical element in the experience. And I think that the idea that showing us, you know, a visual of a mining station or a planet or an asteroid field somehow spoils the experience, I would argue quite matter-of-factly that far from it, it does not spoil the experience, and that the experience is the act of actually doing it yourself. I'm going to give you an example, and I know what some people are going to say. I know one or two in particular who are going to be somewhat irritated, which kind of actually makes it a little bit fun for me. But I'm going to give a recent example of a supposed spoiler that actually wasn't a spoiler. A month and a half ago, roughly, myself and my guild in the World of Warcraft universe had completed the final raid of this current BFA expansion. Now, what you're seeing, of course, is the footage from that final defeat of the big boss. The problem is that this footage, or at least how this cinematic worked, was entirely revealed to the community months prior to this patch even being released. We knew how this was going to end. We knew how this was going to play out. But seeing it didn't encompass the entire experience of playing through that raid, of finishing that final boss, of doing all the fights, going through the motions yourself. It didn't really spoil the experience. I mean, there were some things that, you know, notwithstanding, kind of spoiled the experience somewhat, including the bit of a Lord of the Rings ripoff. But it didn't spoil the player experience, because being an observer and being a participant are two completely different experiences, I would argue. So the fear that showing us something in regards to what might happen in, you know, Squadron 42 and that spoiling the experience for us, I think that that's kind of unrealistic. Now, to kind of further reinforce this, think about every time, you know, we get a big release of Star Citizen. Every quarter we get a big release of Star Citizen. And, leading up to that, as they're currently doing, they show us all the new features that are coming in 3.9. Then it'll be 4.0, then 4.1, then 4.2, blah, 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 blah. And they show us all the trailers. They show us the gameplay, the new mining features, hopefully the new salvage features, the new ships, all these new things that, think about it. If you've seen these trailers, and if you've seen these ships and how they work, and you watch them describe how everything works, is it spoiled for you? No, it's not spoiled. You're more likely to go into the game, and you want to get into the game, and you want to try out the new mining, and you want to do all these things. In a media like video games, where you're a participant and not an observer, it's a different experience. It just creates more desire to go in and participate in that experience. As we see with every Star Citizen patch, as we see in other video games, playing through it is different than just observing it, than just watching it. And I think that even like if you were to reveal so many details about Squadron 42, I mean, even to a point where even I would say, don't give everything away. But even if you were to reveal so many details, it wouldn't, I think, remove the experience of playing through it yourself. There's such a vast difference between just video game media and regular television or movies. And I think that game developers really don't fully appreciate the fact that these two are similar. They're on a similar path, but they are two entirely different roads, If to use a road example, when I put up all those pictures of me driving across Canada, does that mean, like, now that you guys have seen those pictures, that you know exactly what that experience is like? You understand that whole 4,491 kilometers? No, you don't. You weren't there. You weren't a participant in every hour of that journey. You got to see little snippets, but that doesn't encompass the experience. I mean, if that were true, if just seeing the pictures was enough, then nobody would ever travel anywhere, which right now is kind of probably not the best idea to go anywhere right now. But you know what I'm saying? It's two totally different things. And even if you were to just deluge us with all kinds of details and visuals from Squadron 42, it wouldn't spoil the experience, because there's no way you could probably give it all away. Like, there would of course be all these little hidden little secrets that we would not see until the game went live, and we would still be blown away by these, but it would still be the experience of playing through the game itself, which is something that you can't spoil, because it's only, especially the first time, it's only something that you can do once. I mean, I can use other examples of watching something and participating in something are two entirely different things, but you understand where I'm coming from, all right? Or hopefully you do. I think that this paranoid fear is, in a way, it's hurting CIG, because I think that they fundamentally misunderstand the experience of playing a video game. They think they're making a movie when they're not making a movie. They're making a video game, and you have to treat it as such. And I mean, especially when you're funded as you are funded, which a lot of AAA companies are not, but you are. I think you have to be a little bit more forthcoming. It doesn't mean giving away the script. It doesn't mean posting it online and saying, by the way, Admiral Bishop has a secret he has yet to reveal, and the Vandal leader is, actually secretly, a time traveler. Like, you don't have to give all the little details away, but I think that if you let us swim in the amount of visual information that you as developers are swimming in, if you let us see all the cool stuff that you're working on without letting us know the context of every little thing, you still preserve the experience, because the experience is unique to the player. And so it's not going to be the same for everyone. So you can't possibly spoil it by just kind of saying, oh, here's Shubin, here's an asteroid field, here's a nebula, here's the coil, here's Shere Khan or whatever his name is, here's his little hidden base up in the asteroid field. All this stuff, it doesn't give anything away, because the experience isn't just watching it. The experience is playing it, is participating in it. And, you know, that is something that we just are not going to get until we can play the game. So this kind of idea of, oh, we can't put too much on the roadmap, I think that it's just, it's a stupid idea. I'm sorry to say it like that, but it is. It's stupid. You can. I think that, you know, by holding these things back, you're only really hurting yourself. And whenever things are shifting all over the place on the roadmap, and you're like, oh, we don't want to give too much away, it not only that, it kind of makes you look like you kind of don't know what you're doing, or that you're being unprofessional. And that is not something that you really want to, you know, portray yourself as to the backers, you know?
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.